Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Selvi. Today we are with the topic definition of done. In the last episode we have seen the topic called definition of ready. So what is the difference between this definition of ready and definition of done? We will see the difference later, but we will try to understand why when there is a document called definition of ready, why there is another document called definition of done required. And before going into today's topic, I have a request for you all. Please, if you have not listened to the definition of ready episode, that is in the same season, episode number 4, kindly listen to definition of ready related episode. The reason is we have covered completely what is a checklist, why checklists are dynamic, and what is a product backlog, what is a sprint backlog with detailed examples in the episode. It will be really helpful for you all if you gather that information before getting into this topic of definition of done. So before concluding and entering into the topic of definition of done, let's try to quickly understand what is definition of ready and why the checklist is required. So definition of ready is a dynamic checklist that helps us to pick the items from product backlog to sprint backlog. And this checklist is prepared by the team during the sprint 0 or during the planning sprint. And this checklist will undergo improvements wherever it is required as part of the retrospective meeting, and it will be getting updated by the team. So this is what we have seen in the definition of ready. So definition of ready, checklist items should be met. When we say we want to move an item from product backlog and move it to the sprint backlog as part of the sprint commitment, all the relevant definition of ready checklist items should be met. Okay, so now the work item was initially available in the product backlog, and according to the priority that the product owner seen it, and as well it is meeting all the checklist items of definition of ready, we have moved the work item from product backlog to sprint backlog. Now what will happen? Team will be working on the sprint backlog items during the course of the sprint, and at the last day of the sprint, all the work items, regardless of the status of it, whether it is in progress or it is completed or it is not even started, the sprint will be getting ended. Now, how we had a checklist for the team to understand whether what they need, whether it is available in the work item, similar way for the product owner we are giving some checklist. Is it going to be used only by the product owner? No. I'll tell how it is going to be used by everyone. As definition of ready helps us to pick the items from product backlog to sprint backlog based on some criteria, this definition of done checklist is going to help us to understand, are we actually covering up all the required items of this work item so that the product owner can accept this work item. What is meant by acceptance of the work item? Team is working on the work items during the sprint, and at the end, team will be asking the product owner to review it and take it for closure after a demo. On what basis product owner can confirm whether everything is taken care? Is it only the functionality that is intended to be developed? If it is available, then we can go ahead and say like, okay, we are good to accept the story. No. Let's consider a simple example before going into this topic in detail. It's New Year time. We usually order cakes. Let's consider a scenario of birthday. It's my close friend's birthday. I'm booking a cake for the occasion. When I went to order the cake, I have given completely the details happy birthday and my friend's name, and I asked for some candles, birthday cake candles. Then there is nice icing on the top of the cake also was expected by me. And the candles also I asked for some customized shape. So everything I have given as part of the order. When I went to collect the cake just on her birthday eve, I got shocked because only cake was available. There was no icing. There was no name written on the cake with the message of happy birthday. And there was no information about the customized candles I was looking for. There was nothing I was able to see. So can I say my requirement is complete? No, it's not complete, but the cake is ready. It's actually edible. I can take it to my friend's place and we can cut and have the cake. It looks like it's done, but it is actually not done, right? So here is the difference. Sometimes we complete the coding and we say we are done with the development. There is a difference between coding and development. Same happens here. Even though the cake is available, I cannot carry this cake and celebrate my friend's birthday because it's incomplete for the occasion, for the requirement what I have looked for. So here comes the challenge. Even though it looks like done, it is not actually done. So how can I actually help take a support from a checklist and ensure that it is not done? And these are the items actually I'm looking for as part of the development. Like when I would have made this order, I would have asked for, okay, these are the things you just need to make a note, like these are the customized candles and these many candles I wanted, and I want the message so and so. Everything would have been written in some place as part of the order of the cake, right? That is my checklist. So when actually they are going to deliver the cake, that is something that they need to completely, okay, cake is available, icing with the message and so message with this candle, and that is customized. This is what the information we are expecting. In similar way, now coming to the software development process, there is a requirement, there is a functionality, and that functionality is returned as a work item in the form of a user story, and team has picked up that as part of the sprint execution, and it is available in the sprint backlog. Team is working on it. According to the developer, according to the tester, everyone thinks that they have completed it. But what are the items that they really need to take care when they say they have done? And based on what product owner can say that, okay, not only the functionality, I am looking for these many items also, and this is taken care. Where are we actually capturing those? This checklist called definition of done is going to help in that purpose. So here it is going to happen in such a way that we are able to capture all these items as part of the checklist, and this checklist item should be cross-checked by the product owner before accepting the work item for the closure. That's why it is called as definition of done. How it is definition of ready is whether the work item is ready to be picked for the sprint backlog. We have something called as definition of ready. Similar way, when we say that it is done, how we are defining it is done. This checklist is nothing but called as the definition of done. Now let's try to understand what are the items it will be available, right? That is interesting topic to look for. Of course, you will code the piece of information that gives the functionality that satisfies the requirement. In addition to that, we need to do and follow certain development practices. What are the development practices? When I say I'm writing a code, I need to really understand what are the other things that I need to take care that the code is really having a quality. What are those things? I need to ensure that the unit test cases are designed and my code coverage has been achieved with certain percentage, and I have updated the relevant documentation part, not only the piece of code. And I have also ensured that the review comments are incorporated, and I have completely met the acceptance criteria set by the product owner in the work item. I have taken care of the non-functional requirements too. So these all are the examples of the definition of done. Now we have the list. So when I'm coding, I cannot go and say, hey, this is done. No, it's not done because I have not written the unit test cases. I have not achieved so and so required code coverage. I have not taken the review process. I have not updated the documentation. So I cannot claim that it is done. And even product owners should not be in a position to accept it because it is actually not done. So even though the functionality is developed, even though the coding is completed, as part of the overall done to be taken care, these all checklist items should be met. So even though the functionality is working fine, product owner has all the opportunity to say that I am not going to accept the story because you have not updated the documentation part. Right? And what tester is contributing here? Acceptance test the tester would have written against the acceptance criteria, which is set in the work item. All the acceptance tests should pass and there are no defects identified. Right? So these all are some of the example items that will be available in this checklist. When are we going to create this? Who are going to create this? So this checklist is also very similar to the definition of ready checklist. This will also be created in the initial sprint, that is sprint 0 or the planning sprint, and the entire team gets aligned to prepare this checklist. With the help of the Scrum Master as a facilitator, this checklist gets prepared. And this is also a dynamic checklist, the same reason what we have seen in definition of ready. For example, let's say that documentation update is not updated as a checklist item. So what will happen? I am keep on writing the code. I am completely doing all the development practices which are required, like unit test cases, and I'm ensuring the code coverage is achieved to a certain percentage. I have followed the review process, everything. But I forgot the documentation piece itself because I have not even captured in the checklist. So what happens here after a few sprints? Always there is a problem that we are able to see the documentation is missing and tester is coming back and saying, where is the relevant document? Or during the review meeting, there is a question asked like, have we updated all these things as part of the document? Now we are in trouble and now we realize that, okay, there is something that we are missing throughout for all the work items which need to be captured. So which is the place where we can capture? That is nothing but our definition of done. So now we have captured this and we have added this. So what will happen and when we will be adding this? During the retrospective. So after the sprint execution, team is actually joining for a retrospective meeting. They are trying to understand what is the mistake that we are doing and what have not went well in the process of sprint execution. They realize that the definition of done checklist needs to be updated with this particular information of documentation update, because every time we are missing this. Why can't we add this as part of definition of done, so that it will help both product owner during checking, as well for the developer, as well for the tester. Everyone is getting into the same page because they are able to see that it is one of the pieces that need to be taken care. So during the retrospective meeting, we are putting this point and Scrum Master is facilitating us to add this point as part of our definition of done checklist. So going forward, documentation is automatically taken care, because before a developer says that I am done, he or she will go through this list of items. Have I covered everything? Oh, okay, I missed document part. Now I need to update the document, then ask the tester to start the testing. And tester also will be ensuring that these all items are covered. And even the product owner also will be checking all these things are taken care. So we all are on the same page and we have a common checklist which is driving all of us at the same path. So now we understood why definition of done checklist is required when we have definition of ready, and who all are creating this, when they are creating it, and when it can go for a change, and what is its purpose. So in a nutshell, let me summarize the definition of done. Definition of done is a dynamic checklist which helps the team and the product owner to accept the work item. This checklist is getting created during the start of this project, that is nothing but the planning sprint or the sprint 0. And based on the improvisation needs, it will be discussed as part of the retrospective meeting, and we will be capturing the improvement areas and add it as part of the checklist with the help of the Scrum Master. And that's the reason this checklist is called as the dynamic checklist, because it will undergo the changes according to the need. And this is going to help all of the team members, not only developer, not only tester, not only product owner. Everyone is getting benefited before actually accepting the work item, before claiming that it is done. So this is all about definition of done. I hope this episode would have helped most of us in understanding the definition of done with the example. Thanks everyone for listening. Stay tuned.